Afternoon. I just thought I'd like to do a video review of these Chinese engines that are going around eBay. Supposedly made by a Chinese guy called Jin. Whoever this Jin guy is. I'm not sure whether he's making these from scratch or buying in the components and just assembling them. If he's making them from scratch, he's got to have quite a big production facility, because all these castings, you don't just knock them up in the back room. Well, that's a production line job. This hit and miss is one of 3 engines I bought off him. I bought a steam engine, which I got stung on because I bought it at a buy it now price of £880. Still waiting for it to come. I think this was about 300, and this one called the M12 was 250. This one I've had no problems with. Started up straight out of the box, and all I've done is put an LED on it, remind me to turn it off so I don't flatten the battery. That runs on 3 AA batteries, 1.53 AAs. Battery seems to last a long time, so no problems with this, and I don't think it's going to wear out pretty quick because I've stretched the springs and it runs very slow, so it's not an hard working engine, so we'll see. This on the other hand, the so-called M12, what a beautiful looking engine. I mean, it really is. And I suppose you pay for what you get what you pay for. If this was made in Europe, America or England, it'd cost you over £1,000. But 250, it's still a lot of money, and you expect it to work. Lovely base, and like I say, well presented. But it's probably had maximum an hour's running time. I mean, what you do is you tend to start them up for 5 minutes, play with it, switch them off, and start them again for 5 minutes. So if you had all this up over days, weeks, and I've only had it about a week, it's probably had maximum an hour's running time. And problems started occurring right from the off. First problem was, started up pretty easy out of the box, and the grub screw, 3mm grub screw, came loose. It was knocking its head off. So I tightened it up, and within a few minutes do the same again. And then the cheap Chinese screws, the head just round off the grub screw. So that's got to be addressed, and if you're watching this, Jin, sort yourself out. I've emailed Jin, told him that I've spent well over £1,500 with him, and all the emails you get back off him is, sorry about that, no, we'll send you a new engine out, or no, I'll give you part refund. Just ignores you, which is wrong when you spent that sort of money with him. I milled down there on the milling machine because it's stainless, so it's very hard, and put a 5mm grub screw, so it is now hitting on the flat instead of going in on an angle. Rectified that, and within half an hour the other side started doing exactly the same, so I had to do the same on that there. So we sorted that problem out. I put a little ton dish there, permanent fixture, because I found with my syringes it's very hard to fill up because air pressure just kept blowing back, so it took forever to fill up and kept blowing back. So now it's vented, so it fills up very quickly now, and I just wait until it fills this little ton dish up and then back the syringe off slightly and it's full. Made this, I wouldn't call it an air filter, more of a dust cap, because I don't like the open Venturi. So it's got 4 inlets for the air, and this is just a little choke which blocks the Venturi. And I've put a little stop on here because it was bogging out. That's the second problem. This carburettor, useless. I don't know if it's just me or whether I've got a bad one. I'm sure these other problems are going to arise on other people's, and I'm sure this problem's going to arise with other people. Carburettor might be different, but this carburettor, useless. Air leaks everywhere. There's a shaft at the back which has a little O-ring to stop any vacuum leaks. It may be doing its job, but the shaft itself wobbles. The idle stop was letting air in. I had to put a bit of glue around there to seal it. And these 3 all work together, and if you've got any vacuum leaks, you'll never get it running right. And it was to the fact that you only had to move these a couple of thou, and it was the difference between it running and not running. So touch wood, that's holding up at the moment, but you know, maybe I've just got a bad one. Third problem, it had run and then suddenly just stopped, and I thought that's weird, and I noticed that the exhaust valve was sticking open. Took the push rod out. It wasn't the valve or the valve spring, that was all nice and free, but the cam assembly in here, there's two lifters there, and this lifter was sticking in the out position, which was holding the exhaust valve open. It was well oiled with 3-1 engineering oil, so it's, you know, it's well lubricated. As you can see, I've got running in oil around here, everything's well lubricated. So when it was made, I think there was a bit of swarf in there or something, and this lifter has picked up because it just sticks open. So I had to I got a feeler gauge, cut it down, and I just use that as it's a spring assist basically, and it just helps to push that push rod back. I shouldn't have to do all this on a new engine, it's ridiculous. And all the grub screws, well, they just round off. I've had a look inside here. It's a wet liner with piston with an O-ring at one end, an O-ring at other. That's your header tank. That fills up and then just circulates round the bore. Like I say, it's a wet liner. The head is totally flat up against the block. Basically the combustion area is just the spark plug hole, and that's where the combustion is happening. So, you know, really bad design. And if we go over here to the little drawing board I've got here, you can see how a grub screw should work. That should be sitting 100% on the flat of the mill, flat on the shaft, on the crankshaft, so that you get 100% surface contact. But what they've done is they've gone in at an angle with a tiny 3mm grub screw, which is ridiculous, and that's where it's getting its contact there. So no contact here whatsoever, ridiculous. Side view from the crankshaft, that's what you'd be getting there, contact point. So just a little tip there, and again, that'd be 100% if it was going vertical, but that's the actual contact you're getting if you're going in at an angle like that. And then this half crest here, you're only getting this little tip grabbing. So absolutely crap engineering, and that needs to be addressed. Now, you know, as you can see, I've got a bit of tooling, and I'm a mechanic by trade, obviously working on bigger engines. So you've got the ability to try and sort them out, but somebody who buys these as a gift for somebody and has got no insight into engines, they're going to start it up, run it, and then things are just going to fail. And I know for a fact, now this is running right at the moment, it runs sweet, it starts just by flicking the wheel with a bit aid of a bit of choke, but I know for a fact this is going to be a long term, as things wear, put things right. And another thing that's wearing, the distance on the valve adjustment, I get them right and they keep wearing because all this is really sloppy, and that's because you've got a steel pin going through brass. Again, bad design. The only thing I've done to this is, well, apart from the repairs, is I've converted it from 1.5 because the batteries don't last 5 minutes. It's on LiPo battery going through a cheap couple of quid circuit board, so that when you turn it on, that's running at 3 volts. The ignition module will take that, and the spark goes from a yellow spark to a nice blue spark, so it's a more healthy spark. So that's all I've done. So the reason for the video, and I'd like to know, if you want to leave some comments, if you've had any problems similar to this, and if you haven't, good luck to you. Like I say, maybe I've got a bad one, but like I say, this one's brilliant. It runs all day long, starts it dead easy. But this one, it's just rubbish. And like I say, I've bought another engine off him at £880, so well over 1,500 quid I've spent with him, and his attitude is, sorry about that. Not good enough, Mr. Gin, if you're watching this.